Family. So in this PowerPoint, we're going to be dealing with non-ether, the substance of God, introduction to non-ether science, authored by myself, Messiah Al-Mahdi. And the purpose of this particular PowerPoint is to give a more clear and concise, as well as comprehensive understanding as to non-ether, what it is, how it functions, and so on. I'm going to break this PowerPoint down into several different parts. I do understand that, making longer PowerPoints is in most cases ineffective because it's just too much information being given at one time. So I'm going to try to actually break it down into no more than three parts. Each individual section um, comes with the test at the end of the section, questions that you actually go back through the passages and read and pretty much answer the questions. So let's get to it. This picture right here is myself, Afarati Messiah. I'm dressed in the Imperial Order's traditional attire as encouraged by the Holy Scriptures as the dress of the righteous. You can look that up in Matthew 17:1 through 2, and Revelations chapter 19. The all-white dress has always been the dress of the righteous in most scriptures, be it the Quran, the Holy Bible, or the Torah. Um, we do not actually use this attire anymore, but I did include this picture so that you guys could actually see the attire that we once dressed in the Ansar Wallah community. I, Messiah Al Mahdi, have been given the responsibility of uniting the chosen few brothers and sisters who from birth have been given the gift of superior intellect to recognize the calling to embrace self and kind as the superior power. There are people whose DNA was set to go off at the sound of my voice, for they have already been pre-selected as the chosen ones to regain their divinity, to join the imperial order, and be once again reunited with their original Nubian culture, language, flag, and doctrine. This pamphlet is to arm those chosen people with the factual knowledge of their spiritual origin, so that they may once again become the supreme non-ether beings that they once were before this evil hypnotic spell was cast on them 6,000 years ago. The purpose of writing these pamphlets is to unite as many brothers and sisters as possible that will listen and unify with their original and sacred identity, Nuwabi, and our way of life now being called Nwapu. It is very important to note that we of the Imperial Order are not connected to any other group or groups of people calling themselves Nuwabians. We are an independent order and have no ties to any other group of people who do not acknowledge Al-Fariti Messiah al-Mahdi as their one and only supreme leader. Note, El-Zalimiyya literally means the age or era of the spell of Leviathan, but it refers to a time when the foundation called Tanweed was not taught. So in this particular slide, I just want to touch bases with you on El Zalemiya. El Zalemiya is the Nuwabian way of saying the age of the spell of Leviathan. And it's based on the era before we actually had a foundation to be able to um, inculcate our teachings in other people in a more concise and comprehensive way. Tanweeb is the actual name of the foundation of Nuwapu, and the most simplest translation of it is Nuwabianization. Therefore, our objective is to be able to teach people how to think, speak, and act like a Nuwabian by inculcating our doctrine, our language, and our cultural etiquette and practices. Not so much that Nuwapu itself did not exist, more so the systematic teachings of Nuwapu in an organized sequence called Tanweeb did not exist in organized form. Tanweeb is considered a more comprehensive and effective method of spreading the fundamental teachings of Nuwapu, which once when it became added to Nuwapu, brought forth what the imperial order calls the fourth temple, Nuwapu. It must also be acknowledged and accepted that when the question is asked, who is God or what is God, the thought must arise that nobody can tell you who or what God is unless they know the substance of God and the nature of that substance. Meaning, God must be made from something. If all things he created are made from something, and they were made by him, because the intelligent question would arise if God is not made from any substance, but all things that exist from God's creations are all made out of substances, then where did God get the substances from to create those things? And how are they independent of him but come from him? If you go to Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, it says, and I quote in part, and God said, let us make man in our image and after our likeness. And Genesis 1:27 states, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. In these quotes, it is stating that God has an image and that the Hebrew word being used for image in this quote is selim and does not have a spiritual meaning. It carries the meaning of a physical image. Another point must be made about Genesis 1:26 also, which is it not only confirms that God himself has an image, but it uses the plural pronoun of our when it says make man in our image. Therefore, this is saying that God is addressing a group of beings who also have an image like God already, and they are going to help God make man and God's and the beings that God is talking to image. So if you really go back to Genesis chapter 1:26, when it says, let us make man in our image, it seems like a singular deity, God, is addressing a plural audience. We'll assume that he's talking to the angelic beings about creating man. But he uses the term our when he says, let us make man in our image, as if God and the beings that he was speaking with in Genesis 1:26 also had an image. And the Hebrew word that's used to describe the word image in the Bible is selim. By this verse alone, we must conclude that if God has an image, then he must be visible. And if he's visible, he must be made up of matter or material. And all matter is made from some type of substance. There is a lot of science, factual knowledge, and sacred information within this pamphlet that will help all who read it understand the spiritual substance that created the universe and then personified itself as flesh and blood beings in the form of the black race. Study this pamphlet with great intent to understand its content, for this pamphlet explains in a lesson format that the black race is a God race manifested in the physical form. In other words, we are the universe in a body. Nine ether is the sacred scientific term for the being that all religions through the ages have called God. This pamphlet is step one in reclaiming our divinity. It is for this reason that we must embrace the sacred identity Nuwabian, because it means non-ether being, and that is exactly what we are within the black race, non-ether beings. I am asking all who seek family, knowledge, your original Nubian culture, your original sacred Nubian language, to be a part of something great that represents your own kind being empowered, etc. If you have a sincere heart and are willing to work together to build something great, then come join the Imperial Order. Your sacred ancient Nubian order was created to help you once again become gods and goddesses, rulers of the planet Earth. The previous chart is basically describing electrons vibrating causes consciousness to transmute into different gas combinations because it's governed by thermodynamic processes. Non-ether science, lesson 1. Now, the way I've done the slides, it's actually numbered so that when you answer the questions, you can find the answers in one of the numbers. It's done like verses. Um, so basically, I want you guys to have a thorough understanding of non-ether, is functioning, and things of that nature, so that you'll kind of sort of be able to explain it when other people are asking you about the information. So let's jump right to it. Verse 1. Everything that exists is made out of a substance or material. There is nothing that we can't detect with our physical senses that we can factually say is made out of nothing. Every substance at its essence is the result of the same subatomic particles, combined in different arrangements, vibrating at different speeds and at different proximities. Because all things are made out of a substance, there is no such thing as nothing, or no such thing as something that exists but is not made out of something. In religion, God is considered a spirit. The etymology of the word spirit in the dictionary means breath, breathe, or air. The word spirit comes from the Latin word spiritus or spirare, meaning to blow, breathe, or air. However, the air is made up of gases. Gases are also what we breathe in and relate to the life-giving process. Thus, if a spirit is made out of gas, and gas is a substance, and if God is a spirit, that would imply that God is also made up of a substance, namely gases. Read the above paragraphs, which are numbered 1 through 6, and answer the following questions concerning the information. These are the questions that you should be able to answer when studying the previous PowerPoint and information that has been given. Question 1. What does religion say God is? Question 2. What is air made up of? Question 3. What words does the word spirit come from? Question 4. Everything that exists is made out of what? Question 5. At its essence, what is every substance the result of? Question 6. What causes us to refer to something as nothing? Question 7. The faster the speed of vibration, the more what? Question 8. What is the cause of subatomic particles aggregating? And question 9. What is consciousness itself? So family, I want y'all to study this PowerPoint and answer these questions, and there will be classes on these questions so that you guys can kind of sort of dialogue and get a little bit more information or a greater understanding of the PowerPoint. Wadu.